Hello, I'm Owen from Square Balloon, and today I'm going to take you through a quick walkthrough of me doing an analysis of a website, what I think is bad about it, and what I think is good about it, and what I can improve about it, and then I'll show you a quick kind of view of me messing around with it and changing it, and then we'll show you both versions and see if you think I'm right or wrong, and I'd love to hear your opinion on it below. Reason you should listen to me, I've been doing this job for 15 years, as well as doing the design seat, I do the development seat, and the front end and the back end. So I have some experience in this, but if you don't agree with me, that's fine. It's an opinion anyway. So please do let me know in the comments if you think I'm wrong. A lot of this stuff has come from my training, where I had a person who was solely design sitting behind me and teaching me kind of the rules of design. And I get a lot of people telling me that design is something that's either like you've got to feel for it, you know it's good or not. But he taught me very specific rules, which I had to do every single time, or else he'd be over my shoulder saying, no, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. And after a while, you catch this horrible illness, designer OCD or whatever you want to call it, and you can't stop seeing mistakes everywhere. So let's get started. I'm going to take you through the website. I'm going to show you what I would change, and I'm going to tell you why I would change it, and I'm going to tell you what the thinking is behind it. So hopefully you can apply these rules with a bit of logic rather than just guesswork as, oh, I'm not a very good designer, I don't know what I'm doing. Here's the rule, here's why it's the rule, here's how to apply it. Now, before I start, I would love it if you could subscribe and support my work so that I know that I'm doing a good job and carrying going. So here's the website. This is one of the largest bus operators in the UK. If you built this website, I apologise. But there seems to be what I would consider a lot of design mistakes here. So the first one would be a lack of contrast on this top part. And it seems to be a common theme throughout. There's a lack of contrast. This part here, it's got a nicely animated hover change colour, but I hate it. I don't mind it like that, I just don't like it like that, and it's because of the contrast. I also don't really see the reason for it to change colour, and also I'm hovering on its change colour, but my mouse hasn't changed. Nothing is in focus, I cannot select. If I go here, I'm in focus, and I can click on this link. If I go here, I'm not in focus, so I'm off, I'm on, but I can't actually click. So I'll talk you through why that is and what I would change. This bit, I actually think the background is a nice element, but I think it's the word train is kind of hard to read here, which is a problem. And I also think there's lack of space. It is a thing here. Again, it's just a lack of contrast. As we scroll down, red and yellow. This is a real problem. People who are colorblind won't actually be able to see that. It'll be invisible to them. So that is a really, really important thing to consider. You've got to be very careful with red and green, red and yellow. Also, blue and green can be difficult for some people to read. So from an accessibility perspective, it's very, very important that we consider these things. Also, even if you're not colorblind, I'm not, I just find this a bit horrible to look at, to be honest with you. Um, again, this is okay, but this lacks contrast on the button. Also, the buttons are kind of small. I'd rather them a bit bigger if I'm trying to click on them. And again, you lose the central and a couple of words on the lighter backgrounds. This is nice big text, you can't complain about that. Same stuff here. A couple of images, no problem with that. This, it goes down in a long column of text, which I would advise against. This seems almost like a throwaway design element. And I'll be honest with you, if I was going to do this, I would probably make this white, and I'd probably bleed it into this grey section, and remove this corner part here, or maybe make the corner part on the right section instead, so I just don't have a white block for no real reason. If this block was grey, it would almost bleed into this and it'd be fine, and then you just have to sort out this problem with this circle in the middle of nowhere. And then obviously make this image the other colour. Other than that, actually the bottom is not too bad. I still think possibly a little contrast issue, but sort it out. So let's have a look at solving it. So first things first, I looked at the header. So here's an example where I just used red, it's a red logo, but I made it darker. So this is grey, this is red. I still think it lacks contrast because it's got this red part here, and it's red. So I really think you have to go quite a bit darker to get that red to kick off, or you could go completely white. So if I was to go here and go completely white, well, if I go completely white, I'm going to lose the ABE part, right? Um, so kind of almost a flaw in the logo design in the first place, possibly. But you can see here's my original. It's black. It stands out a little, but I think it's lacking contrast. You can make it darker. Here I did make it darker. I used the red and black, sort of really dark red, and I think it stands out quite a bit more than that. And obviously there's another color red which makes it fit in with the brand. Obviously you need to fix this yellow link, but I still think the red parts get lost a bit too much, so I preferred this black. The hover thing, as you remember, as I hover over it, um, I actually think that I might be wrong, but I feel like the text and the background are slightly at different times. Anyway, so what I've done here is I've got rid of that hover effect. It doesn't happen anymore. I think it's nicer. If you notice, if you remember on this bit, I'm focused, but I'm not focused on the link, so my icon doesn't. So I've changed the way that was built. It was a bit crazy the way it was built. They were putting div within the div for no real reason, so I reduced the DOM and I made it more sensible. Even if I'm over here, I'm still able to click on it. Anywhere I hover on this part, I'm clicking on this link. Next section was these boxes. If you remember, I said the buttons are a little small, kind of hard to read at that font size. Let's have a look at what font size they are. 14 pixels. So here's the first design rule that I would give to you is 16 pixels is your minimum font size. It's something that Google does ask for, and it's something that Apple asks for as well. If you design some emails and you're not specific about the font size, it would actually upgrade them to 16 pixels if they're below that anyway. So yeah. So anyway, so here's what it looks like at the moment, and then the new one. Oops, gotta make sure they're both on the same one. Right, old one, new one. So I hardly changed anything, but two design rules I applied. Um, first one was I made this text 16 pixels. I then made the buttons a little bigger. I actually don't like it going duller when it's hovered. If that was me, I would find a different way to do that. So if I dock my thing to the bottom and if I click on hover, we'll now see the hover effect. So you see it's hover, and what is causing it? What are we on? We're on this A. Oh no, where's the hover effect? So I'm not sure what's causing that. Maybe it's opacity, is it? Ah, it's brightness. There you go. So that's the filters doing it. So take that off. Yes, the filter's doing it. So honestly, I wouldn't do it like that. I might just take this RGB and change it slightly instead, because I do want some feedback on the button. I do want people to know when they hover it, something happens. Um, so if I make it the same color, and then perhaps instead of making it darker, I'll just make it a bit lighter. Oh, sorry, I'm on hover all the time. I don't seem to be doing anything. Weird. Maybe I need to stick an important on it. There you go. Right, so that's working. So now when I hover, it gets brighter, which I would prefer to go in duller. It's like more enticing to use it. That is quite bright, so not sure I would quite want it that bright. Um, maybe just a little bit so we can see the difference. Should probably be alright, I think. Okay, you can see it just goes a little bit brighter. Maybe I would make it a bit more than that, but I'm not going to play around with this forever. But so here's the old version, and here's the new version. So two design rules. One was this, make it font size 16 instead of 14. And another one, which is always done, is you've got a background color, that you should make the text bolder. So you can see it's kind of hard to read this train and these other bits because they don't stand out on the colored part. But I've made it bolder here, and it's just slightly easier to read. Still think it's a little problematic. You could make the text slightly darker to overcome the issue, but then you're going to have a problem with the dark purple. So probably you might want to make this background color, the lightness, maybe if you made that not quite as light, just took it down a bit, it would make the text stand out. But the fact that it's bolder does help it for sure. Next bit. Oh, also this grey is not contrasting enough. I don't think I changed it on here, but I would do. Oh no, I did. So old one, new one, just makes it more readable. Next one, red and yellow, as I said, is a problem with color blindness and accessibility. This way, I just made it quite a lot darker. That should help to overcome it by making it quite a lot more contrasting. I'm not sure I love the massive amounts of colors like this could probably handle, but then the yellow straight afterwards, I would prefer to be a little bit more of a neutral. I actually think Welcome to Abellio London isn't needed. Probably by that point, you should have said it at the beginning if you were going to say it. At that point, it's not needed, so I wouldn't really be offended by just removing that section altogether. I'll just comment it in case I need it in the future, but I don't think I do. Bearing in mind this is all on the browser, so I'm not actually changing the website. It will just refresh and it will be gone. There you go. So old one, I've got welcome. New one, I get straight to the point. This is the meat and bones of what you're selling. Why waste space? Crucial homepage real estate, to be honest with you. Just for the welcome message, at least say something valuable there. At least say you know, the best bus company in the UK, or you know, something that makes you trust them. Anyway, so original here. If you remember, we made our rule about the bold font. So it's got a coloured background. We gave it a bold font. This is not. Oh wow. Oh wow. Is that me that's done that? Yeah, that's me tinkering that's done that. This button doesn't have. It's not. It's probably 16 pixels font size. Let's have a look and check. Font 17, so we're all good. But the problem I have with it is it just doesn't have enough spacing on it. So what I would do to solve that is add some padding. So if I add padding here, and then I'll do 12 pixels, and then maybe like 2 pixels or something. That's giving it a lot more. It still has a problem. In fact, I could probably give it even more. Still have a problem in that it's a colored background that's not bold. So following our rule, font weight bold. And then the next thing is the contrast. So I can just do the color here. It's not dark enough. It's a shade of blue. Blue has no no relation to any of the colors on this page really, but red does. So if I go red and then I make it super dark, and then there we are. I don't know why it's lost the weight. You can do bold or you can do 600. And there you have it. And then what I would say is actually it's a bit close to the text above it, so I'll probably give that maybe, yeah, probably something like that is fine. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Do it on this one. Refresh this one so we see the difference before and afterwards. And then make the color darker. Make it red first, so we're doing a tint of red. And there you go. And because it's actually the button text, right? We are on font size 17, and on the paragraph we are on font size 20. So I would argue that the button should be at least the same size as the font, possibly even bigger. But I think for consistency's sake, it does help that it's the same size as the font. It should certainly not take. It should take more precedence, not less. So is it before? Is it after? Before? After. Again, just because I'm saying this, you don't have to take my word for it. If you want to argue with me in the comments or tell me I'm wrong or tell me what you would do differently, I'd love to hear feedback. I'm always open to learning and improving my skills. But this is just stuff that I've been taught. So the key takeaways here was background color equals bolder font, includes a button. It's got background color, larger font. Think about spacing. It's all quite tight, so we added some space before the button, and probably I would consider maybe adding some space before this as well. So it has got a margin on it, but it's not very much, and it's less than the top one for some reason. So if we made it the same as the top one, that would help it, but because it's a bottom one, actually normally would make it a little bit bigger. So that gives it a bit more space. Again, the button's now a little close. You could make some more space there or reduce the space here maybe. But anyway, before and after. So moving down the page, this fits fine. It's just a simple bit of text on a white background. Size is fine. Nothing particularly to talk about there. This box, I would do the same treatment as the other ones. Make the text bolder, make the button bigger. And this bit's horrendous, this long column of text. So there's not a lot I can do with CSS here. So I actually had to go in and make the HTML, change the HTML of it. So change the layout of the card. I personally think you could do it this way by adding just a small image with a float on it, which would mean the text runs around it. As you can see, it runs around here. But also, if you wanted to, you could approach it in a different way. So I've put the max width at 100 pixels here. If I turn that off, it'll go to full width, and you could just make it one large column. Now, you might think the image is too big. If you think that's the case, that's fine. Then, you don't have to get that big. Just put a max width on it. Obviously, remember to remove the max width when you go onto mobile version. If I look at it quickly, assuming it causes a problem, it doesn't cause that much of a problem. If I'm honest with you. You could probably handle it, but on the mobile, you might not mind if it goes to the full width. It might just be a bit easier to view on a smaller screen, so perhaps you might remove it. And lastly, got some read more buttons here, or text link. I don't mind you just having a text link, or say you, anyone, you can text link. It can work very well, so I will leave that. What I would say is, if it's really important, probably it needs to be in a button or something, and I would probably just make them bold because it is asking me to do something, so I should give it a little precedence somehow. So there you go. So you can see quite easily this one stands out from these two. Much more likely to get clicked. Perhaps read more might not be the best call to action, but that's more copywriting, and that's not what I'm talking about here. Yeah, and this last bit, I feel like this was a design decision taken at the last minute. Somebody asked, can we have a skyline of London on there or something, and someone just stuck it in. These bits, I will probably just say they are white. Okay, they look a bit grey, but they're not. So yeah, I would leave it like that. So as I said, the bottom bit's not too bad anyway. So should go back to the beginning. We got we've got probably not enough contrast on these links. I could have spent more time on this area. This weird hover effect, which doesn't actually, you feel like I'm about to do something, but I can't click because it's not actually got the right specificity on it, or not specificity, but it's actually an A with a div and an H3. I didn't think that made sense, so in my one I removed the div and I made the a block level element. So I got rid of the hover effect and actually made the a block level element and gave it some padding. So now everything is clickable. You don't usually see block level A's, but there's nothing wrong with it semantically. Again, this bit had the contrast issue, which is sorted out. Cards have a bit more space, made them bold, made the buttons bigger. You can see that this one doesn't have enough contrast, but it's only a demo. Made it bold because of the background, made everything bigger. Same here, because I've done it to the class, it made that bit as well, and improved this news section so that it's not in a horrible long column. It's now in a nicely laid out card. I hope you found that useful. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you would do anything differently. Let me know if you have any other design rules that I didn't cover. Probably some I just forgot to mention. Contrast, if you want to check that, there are contrast checkers out there, free websites, so you can check contrast of 2 different colors. You can also use Google Chrome. Here is Google Chrome. You can use Lighthouse, and you'll see accessibility here. And if you go down, there's no ARIA roles and the contrast here, so it's flagged out that the button primary doesn't have enough contrast. So that was one that we changed. I would also think that these top parts probably would fail accessibility checkers, even if it hasn't mentioned it here. But also, we're actually getting 67 for performance and 81 for accessibility, so loads of room for improvement there. But this is just Google Chrome, and then just click on the inspect the element. Whoa. Inspect the element, and then click on this Lighthouse tab, and then just run the tool there, and it will give you all of this feedback. You can just look at it all, run through it all. Here's all the feedback. You can open all of these up and see the feedback and improve your websites as well. So I hope that also helps as an additional tip. Overall, love to hear your comments. Thanks for watching.